Hi dear ones, thought I'd do a little dog post today. Yesterday I read that another dog had to be put to sleep because of health issues due to irresponsible breeding. Most breeding, in my humble opinion, is pretty irresponsible because there are so many dogs already on this planet that don't have homes. And whilst I understand that people like certain dogs for certain things, and that for that reason breeds do tend to fulfill certain people's desires, there is a line that should be drawn about health. You know, when it becomes unhealthy, let's stop this. The problem is, and this is the big problem, is the fact that people want cheap. And even though a lot of these dogs are certainly not cheap, that have the health problems, they're certainly quicker to get hands on than going to somebody who would be called a responsible breeder, because there's waiting lists. Only so many puppies can come out of a dog within their lifetime. So with that in mind, people go wherever they can to get their hands on whatever they want because they don't want to wait. They're impatient. Over the last few years since lockdown, I've known quite a few people that have gone and got dogs, puppies, some pedigree, mostly pedigree, and some not pedigree, but very expensive mongrels. So we're talking about the cockapoos and stuff. In fact, in many cases, actually, these mongrels have been more expensive than pedigrees, which is fascinating, isn't it? So made me think about when I was younger, still very young, and my mum, she loved her Cocker Spaniels, and we had Holwell at one point. Holwell was a beautiful golden Cocker Spaniel, probably the prettiest Cocker Spaniel you'd ever seen in your life. Maybe I'm biased. Holwell came to us, we were her 7th owners, and don't really like the word owners, but we were her 7th family. She had, well, been to 6 other people before us. She was not even a year old when we got her. We got her from an old lady in town who had adopted her from Dublin Dog Pound when she was over in Ireland, and discovered that Holwell was just a bit too much for her, and my mum stepped up and said, "We will take her, we will have her." Her name was Holly Dog, but we called her Holwell, which actually I think really suited her a lot more. So Holwell had been passed about, and I suppose part of it was because she was quite a handful, to put it mildly. The thing is that she probably had come from a puppy mill, and that was probably why she was a little bit more of a handful than usual. She had been come from that breeding cycle, like breed, make money, and like literally back then, in the, when was it? Would it have been the 80s or the 70s? I can't remember, but back then breeding was a very different kettle of fish. It was nowhere near as bad as it is today. So I remember one time my mum decided that she really thought that Holwell should have puppies because Holwell was such a beautiful dog. Wouldn't everybody love one of Holwell's puppies? So Mama carefully selected this other handsome male Cocker Spaniel. I don't know how much she looked into the health on this. Certainly she should have considered like behaviour. If she'd considered behaviour, she would have thought, no, Holwell is not the right dog to have puppies because she's nuts. But She didn't obviously think about that because she was thinking Holwell is a very beautiful dog. Wouldn't it be lovely to have puppies? And I suppose also for us it would have been so lovely to, you know, be a child and grow up around some puppies. I mean, that would be so fun. So anyway, this man dog, this man dog was found for Holwell, and he was a very handsome blue roan cocker spaniel with a very wonderful title. He used his pedigree name, I believe, and I remember him being called Louis, but I don't remember his full name. It was something like Louis von Count von 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 von. And so Mama took Holwell over to meet Louis, and Holwell was like not exactly excited about this prospect. And the other woman, because she obviously wanted Louis to mate with Holwell as well, and she was suggesting that they lock them in a room. And Mama was thinking, gosh, because this was all like new to her. She'd not seen the breeding process at work. And she was like, no, I'm not locking my dog in a room with your dog. And anyway, so they were watching, and Holwell was like trying to avoid the situation and trying to be a tough girl like she was. She was a bit of a sort of like, if Holwell had been her person, she would have been climbing trees and chewing gum. Anyway, so Louis kept on trying to pursue Holwell, and Holwell was trying to avoid the situation. And then he just overstepped the mark. So she thought, that is it, I've had enough of you, young man. So she gave him a bit of a bitey. She was like, I'm not prepared to be raped, thank you very much. I said no, I meant no, now back off. So Mama was like, okay, no, this isn't going to go ahead. And the woman was like, I can't believe your dog bit my Louis, and all of this sort of stuff. Well, quite clearly, you two women had better sort your stuff out, because you can't just think that because you want a dog to mate with another dog, that is acceptable, because that is not acceptable, because we don't do that in the human world. Why do you think that animals would do that? Animals know exactly which animal that they want to mate with. And yes, animals can also get raped, but, you know, when a human is manipulating the situation for their own ends, because it is their own ends, then you have to stop and go, hang on a second, is this moral? Or am I standing here with loss of integrity in this moment and being a part and assisting the rape of a dog? Anyway, Holwell got away, and that was that, except for months later or years later, I can't remember because time sort of blends into time. Holwell decided she chose her own mate, and she found the man of her dreams, and he was very much like Lady and the Tramp, in fact, because he was very much like Tramp. He was a lovely mongrel, and she ran off with him, and she was like, I want to be with you, you're the man of my dreams. And off she went, and Mama was beside herself. This wasn't even when we were at our house, we were at my grandparents' house in the Isle of Wight. So anyway, Holwell found the man of her dreams, but unfortunately back then my mother had this idea that nobody wants mongrel puppies, and they'll just end up in a dog home, and because nobody will want them because they're mongrels. You can't sell mongrels. So Holwell had to have I suppose a cesarean, I don't know what you call it, an abortion basically, and she had her babies taken from her. And this is a story that I'm sharing with you, hello little bird, of something that happened within my family a very long time ago. But you see, none of us are perfect. We're all here learning and doing our best. All here learning, doing our best. And yesterday, after reading about this little dog that had been put to sleep because of health issues surrounding the bad breeding and having panic attacks because breathing would stop suddenly, and then he would have a panic attack because he'd be very frightened. I mean, it's scary when you suddenly can't breathe. And then later on that day, one of the charitable organisations that I support, called Mastin Matters, and it's specifically for Mastins, Spanish Mastins, because in the Pareras in Spain, they tend to be the dogs that get put down first when there's an influx of dogs coming in. And basically there's these 9 dogs that are going to be put down this week because nobody wants them. And my heart just is like, these beautiful dogs, and they all looked absolutely terrified, and they have no idea what lies ahead for them, whether they're going to make it or whether they will be saved. Who knows? The charity certainly needs a lot of money to get them out of there because they've just been dealing with some puppies that had been abandoned. And then meanwhile, on the world, there are people just casually breeding dogs, thinking, well, make a few extra pounds, put into my kitty, or put towards my expensive car that I'm paying off each month. And and I don't want to think bad of people. I want to believe that people are good and kind. But the thing is that we're all here learning, we're all growing, we're all doing our best. And what I once thought was, well, I wouldn't say acceptable, but I learnt the lesson very early on that breeding is not just about breeding, it's about assisted rape. And a lot of these dogs don't want to be in relation with these other dogs, to have these puppies. One of my dear friends, she fosters a lot of dogs that have been used for breeding, and basically the puppy mill people, they dump the dogs literally at the gates of Many Tears Rescue in Wales. And my friend, she fosters a lot of these dogs, and their bodies are exhausted from having given birth to multiple puppies over and over and over. Their skin is so stretched that their nipples are literally dragging along the floor. They are terrified, they've never played, and then their hormones will be all over the shop, and then that will be passed down to their puppies. So the moral of this video, and this is not manipulation tactics, because I did say a video about that recently, but this is just awareness. This is an awareness video. Is about being aware about what you are participating in, because whatever actions you take is your contract with the universe, and you want to consider that, because your soul knows why you're here, and most of us aren't in touch with our highest self. Your highest self has higher wisdom, higher perspective on what is going on this earth plane, and we tend to get wrapped up with the day-to-day and not see the full picture. So I urge anybody considering getting a dog, use your highest vision, use your highest perspective, and ask yourself questions that you might not want to ask, because I know you want that dog and you want the dog that you want. But just ask yourself, has this dog, do the parents actually get together and want to even bring these puppies into the world? Are they going to be healthy? Is this person that's doing the breeding got the dog's best interests at heart? Why are they doing it in the first place? Are they doing it for money? Are they doing it for the joy of experiencing puppies and sharing those puppies with other people? There's so many questions to ask yourself. Don't limit yourself, not ask the questions just because you want something. Because if you just want something without thinking about the consequences, then what happens is life will bring you situations where you will have to consider consequences, and you will have to consider your moral compass in other areas. And like I said, this is just for your awareness, just to consider, just, You don't even have to take this. If this doesn't resonate with you, just ignore it, walk on. But from my perspective, I feel this is something that I want to share, because I think dogs are love. Dogs are love, without a question of a doubt. Dogs are love. And what dogs do for us is so much more than what we do for them. So from beginning to end in our relationships with dogs, I think that if we can be acting with the most amount of love, the most amount of integrity, then that's all we can do. Anyway, have a beautiful day. God bless you all. Dogs are love. Peace.